Hey there, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching in from, as we are joining here on this Tuesday, December 5th, for pretty much an impromptu crypto happy hour. And appreciate you guys taking the time to join me, whether you're joining live right now or if it's something that you're watching the replay of. Appreciate the time. What is going on? Jay, Kyle, Ivo, Wyatt, Rob, Oracle, Olav, what is going up? What is going on? Patrick, what is going on, folks? Hope you guys are having a good one. James, the Jets suck. You must be a Chiefs fan. The Jets do suck, but the Chiefs suck worse. So sorry for that. Hope you guys are having a good one today. And really, I wanted to pop in here and talk just a little bit about what's going on in the world of, what's going on in the world of crypto today. Obviously, answer as many of your questions as I can, and make sure that just kind of having a good time with you guys tonight and going over everything there. So give me 1 second here as I get everything straightened out. Awesome, good to go. What is up, Paul? Congrats on the first time here. Hope you have a good one. And so if you are new to the channel by any chance, and if you are new to the to Crypto Happy Hour, I try to just kind of come in here, answer as many questions as I can, have a good time with you guys. Tonight going really nuts again, drinking a nice Poland Spring IPA. It's some delicious stuff. Really, trying not to get too crazy tonight, so we're going with the Poland Spring IPA. But yeah, looking forward to answering your questions, and I will try to get to as many as I humanly possibly can. But if there is anything that you really, really want answered, if there's any crypto you want me to check out, throw it in the super chat, and I definitely will be able to get into that. But try to answer as many as I possibly can outside of it. Sweet. So taking a look at some of these questions here. And again, hope you guys are having a great day, great night, wherever you're watching in from. So a couple different people have talked about a lot of questions about IOTA. Makes sense as well when you consider the movement that IOTA's had. We'll take a look over. We'll look at Binance. In the past month, I mean, we've talked a little bit about it in the past month. It's crazy that it's just continued to run up and run up and run up. But in the past month, we're on TradingView, not. In the past month, IOTA is up about a little bit more than, wow. In the past month, IOTA is up about 940%. So if you bought IOTA back in the 40-cent range, you are sitting at 940% profit. You've almost 10x'd your investment in the past month. And it's not like IOTA was a small cryptocurrency either. I mean, IOTA was not a little cryptocurrency, and the fact that it's continued to move and continued to move is pretty incredible. So I'll definitely hop into IOTA a little bit more. The People's Herbalist, thank you very much for that super chat. I appreciate that. Talk about Lisk, please. Yeah, we can definitely talk a little bit about Lisk. And for the most part, I feel like I can pull it up here. Let's see, what do we have with Lisk? So in some respects, I feel like Lisk is slowed down a little bit in terms of the overall growth in comparison to some of the other cryptos out there. So we got Lisk we could look at in the past month. It's having a nice run as of late. Had a really good run in the beginning of, November up until kind of mid-November, and then cooled off, went from $10.30 all the way back down to the sub $7. It's picking up steam again though. It's back above $10, around the $10 range. I don't have any money, I personally don't have any money in Lisk, but I get the appeal of it. I really do like the platform plays. I think platform plays are a lot harder to evaluate, and it's a lot more difficult for many of these platform plays like Lisk, to a lesser extent like IOTA, since it is so large, but like Lisk, like IOTA in some respects, like Ethereum, like Cardano, the platform plays have done very, very well. So I've been pretty impressed by that. Definitely see the appeal of putting money into Lisk. Adnan, thank you very much for that super chat. I appreciate that. Thoughts on Lux? I'll pull up Lux. I believe these guys reached out to me pretty recently. And to be pretty frank, looking at the overall size of the market cap, it's had a really nice run since from $1 or so back in mid-November up to kind of 7x. It's still a little bit small in terms of the overall market capitalization for me to really pay attention. And with the markets it's traded on, I don't really play around with Cryptopia too much. I don't even have a Cryptopia account. So a little bit small for me to look at and a little bit small for me to throw money in, just because when you're talking about a $4 million market cap, that is a crypto that could be very much open to being manipulated. So it's a little bit small for me. Greg, appreciate that super chat as well. How would I get started with $1,000? For me, I've actually even made a video about that before. So if you haven't gotten a chance, literally you can search in YouTube. You should be able to search in YouTube, Crypto Bobby, $1,000. It's, I think, my second most popular video. But with that being said, I would put about 50% into Bitcoin, and the other 50% I would look at potentially an altcoin of some sort, whether it's Ethereum, Litecoin, or if there's some other larger cap cryptocurrency. I think that also, in addition to putting maybe 50% into Bitcoin and then another 50% into another cryptocurrency, I would, in some cases, I've mentioned it before, some people debate me on this, and it's really personal preference, but for absolute newbies, I think dollar cost averaging is nice. In the past 3 months, dollar cost averaging hasn't been helpful. If you just lump sum invested in, that would be great. But that doesn't mean dollar cost averaging isn't going to be helpful in the next month. And the reason I say that dollar cost averaging is something that could be helpful for newbies when you're investing $1,000 is if you put in $1,000 today and the price of Bitcoin goes from close to $12,000 all the way down to $9,500. That's a pretty big shock to a lot of newbies, and that's something that makes it difficult to swallow, and it kind of freaks a lot of newbies out. So if you at least reduce your exposure a little bit there to a big dip, I think that's something that's helpful. But if you just want to get in and rush in, then go for it as well. So I've seen a couple of different people talking about my favorite, Manetha. So if you're playing the drinking game, drink up. I don't own Manetha anymore. I ditched it. But Manetha up 40%, finally showing a little bit of a sign of life. Maybe bottomed out in that 5-6 cent range. But yeah, Manetha finally showing some life. Getting back up to, now it's a $21 million cryptocurrency. At one point it was up to $80 million, $85 million. Traded on Binance. So I've been actually growing. I've been enjoying Binance from a trading perspective. I like Binance. I don't want to say more than Bittrex, but almost more than Bittrex in some cases now as well. I've enjoyed trading on Binance for the most part. It's been pretty smooth sailing for the and it's also nice because they have limit and market orders as well. Boutique Realty LA, thank you very much for that super chat. Will the CBOE market make the Bitcoin price go up or down? I think that's tough to say. It's something that obviously you're going to want to watch, but it's really tough to, it's going to, the CME, first of all, CBOE is launching their futures. I'll pull this up now. CBOE Bitcoin. So CBOE is launching their Bitcoin futures on December 10th. And then the CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, is launching their Bitcoin futures on December 18th. So there's an eight-day gap. It's actually Sunday at 6 p.m., I believe, is when the CBOE futures are launching. And essentially what it allows is for its cash-settled Bitcoin long and short trades. I believe the CME futures is each contract is an increment of 5 Bitcoin, so about a $55,000 contract to hop into that trade. It's going to allow for hedging. It's going to allow for institutional investors who don't want to actually own Bitcoin because it's not necessarily backed by Bitcoin, I believe, and somebody can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes down to it, you can go long and short Bitcoin now, specifically short Bitcoin on platforms like Bitfinex and BitMEX, but that's actually backed by Bitcoin. You have to acquire Bitcoin. To go long and short there with leverage. With the CBOE futures and the CME futures, you're actually not going to have to acquire. You're not going to have to acquire Bitcoin. It's going to be cash settled. So that's going to allow people to basically, who have no interest or desire in worrying about private keys or crypto security or anything like that to bet on Bitcoin, both on the way up and on the way down. I, quite frankly, have no clue which way it's going to go. There's obviously a lot of people in traditional Wall Street that do not like Bitcoin, that think it's a fraud, think it's a Ponzi, whatever they want to say. And those people now have the opportunity to really put their money where their mouth is and go short on Bitcoin. But there's also quite a number of people who like the risk-adjusted returns of Bitcoin and are looking for an opportunity to really go long in the space as well. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the bulls outweigh the bears. And that was the video that I made yesterday. Crypto cartel whiskey night. No, we're going real crazy with some water. So just hanging out, drinking water tonight. No whiskey. Topher mentioned props ICO. Coming up shortly in I think a couple days now. I'm actually heading to the props office tomorrow for a meetup that they're having. So looking forward to that. Thank you very much for that super chat, Eric. I appreciate it. Thoughts on OpenANX? So OAX was actually one that I made an initial trade. I got into their ICO pretty early on, back when ICOs were a little bit hotter than they were previously. OAX spiked up like crazy after the ICO, and it was nuts. And then it just dropped off a cliff and fell off a cliff. But now OAX, like a few other cryptos, is starting to pick back up a little bit, seeing a little bit more volume here. I'm not sure if they got added. Maybe they just, if somebody could perhaps provide a little bit of commentary there, but I'm assuming they might have just gotten added to Binance if that's the volume down here. Looks like they might have just gotten added to potentially Binance or another exchange. But yeah, OAX is an interesting project. There are a number of, I would say, competitors in the space, but decentralized exchange, will they be able to kind of attack that market and have success with that market? Maybe, maybe not. In the meetup I went to last night, one of the big things we talked about was actually 0x, as well as we talked a little bit about 0x, and we also talked about AirSwap, both of which kind of take, I would say, a different approach to, both of which take a little bit of a different approach to the decentralized exchange in some respects. So 0x I think is pretty cool, and I haven't made a move into this, but looking at doing this in the near future. It's actually down a little bit today, but they have a protocol, but the D app that they have is also pretty interesting. And then also in addition to that, AirSwap is kind of another, I would say, more simple one. Zach mentioned, I told you to buy Monero instead of Zcash. Yes, you did, and yes, I should have, but I didn't. So you were right. I was wrong, per usual. You guys are right. I'm wrong. And sometimes you win some, you lose some, unfortunately. Why are ETH transactions from GDAX taking so long, over 5 hours at this stage right now? I can tell you exactly why they're taking so long, and it has to do with these little guys right here. So if you're not familiar with what this is, get familiar, because it's kind of hilarious. There's two separate sides to this too, which is funny. But why is this going on? Why is the Ethereum network so backed up right now? Because there is Ethereum, in a lot of respects, its first killer app. Its first, actually literally popular app. I believe it was, and I think it still might be, but CryptoKitties is it is a way to, it's basically Tamagotchis if you're young enough or old enough. If you're old enough to, you don't have to be that old, but if you're old enough to remember Tamagotchis from back in the day, it's basically Tamagotchis on the Ethereum blockchain, which is pretty funny, but it requires the utilization of smart contracts, and the utilization of the CryptoKitties smart contracts is basically overwhelming the Ethereum network right now due to the number of transactions. It's actually outpaced EtherDelta or EtherDelta, however you want to pronounce it, but there's actually more transactional activity going on with CryptoKitties than than Ethereum's largest decentralized exchange, EtherDelta. So for right now, the Ethereum blockchain network protocol is basically useless when it comes down to transacting on the network in a lot of respects, which is pretty funny. But it goes to show two things. Number one, it goes to show Ethereum has a ton of work to do to scale. It really does. The fact that a CryptoKitty game can basically make the entire Ethereum network useless, which is a $43 billion, $43 billion cryptocurrency platform. That's not great. So there's a lot of work. However, it also goes to show that the fact that you could actually build something fairly entertaining that gains pretty mass stream adoption and that people use on Ethereum. So there's good and bad sides to, this. Pretty interesting stuff. A lot of people that, bigger picture, I think it could be Ethereum's first killer app, which is incredible to think about. But it also goes to show the issues that Ethereum has in terms of scaling. I hope Ethereum can scale. Obviously, would love to see that, but we'll have to see how it ends up playing out. Bruno, I appreciate that super chat. Got Ripple, Cardano, and OMG just a week ago. Bad timing. OMG's done fairly well since then. OMG's done fairly well since then. Cardano, that might have been, I don't want to say that's the top. I actually made a move. I talked a little bit about my updated portfolio today. So let's look at Cardano in the past week. Pull that up here. We could pull it up on, here we go. So look at Cardano in the past week. It's down, but that's after a ridiculous run. So I don't want to say you necessarily bought the entire top, but it's something that it's consolidating a little bit. It's cooling off, but I'm taking this as an opportunity to kind of acquire some Cardano and continually. Yes, Cardano is on Bittrex. I'm taking this as an opportunity to acquire more Cardano. Again, I was at a meetup group last night, and I was talking to a couple guys there, and there's one guy in particular who was the one who turned me on to Cardano back when Cardano was down here. I bought Cardano on the 7th, actually on the 18th. So I bought Cardano November 18th. I think that the last time I spoke to him was the 17th. So I'm up still 230%. At one time, it was up about 400%. I took a little bit of profits here and there, but I really like the long-term potential of Cardano and think it could be kind of one of the next big cryptos out there if it continues to gain mainstream adoption. So I'm going to continue to acquire and go on. Reese, thank you very much for that super chat. I appreciate that. Any input on how Vertcoin will react to the halving? So, I mean, I think Vertcoin has already reacted to the halving. If you're taking a look at it, it's up 14% today. It's pretty much, you can pull it up in Coinigy here, a little more pretty of a chart. But I mean, I would say Vertcoin is already that halving might be priced in when you consider where Vertcoin is in the past month and how high it's run up in the past week or so. With the announced halving, Vertcoin is up 47% or so, and it's kind of continued to move. Could it continue to go up? Yeah, but I would say some element of the halving is definitely priced into that as well. Somebody mentioned which one is better, Bittrex or Binance. I like both. Binance, again, kind of an interesting point of conversation, but last evening we were talking about the development of some of these exchanges, and Poloniex used to be the big exchange in, at least the big altcoin exchange in crypto, and that had the most volume. And you can see if we pop over to trade volume by exchange, we'll take a look at what that looks like. But Bitfinex number 1, Bittrex is actually number 2, and Binance is number 4. And Poloniex is now number 6. But Poloniex actually used to be more popular, I believe, than both Bittrex and Binance. But they stopped adding so many coins. They stopped kind of adding new coins all the time just because of the regulatory risks associated with that. And Bittrex just kind of was adding everything and adding every coin and trying to gain market share, because in a lot of cases, the more coins you have, you need to have a good user experience. But the more coins you have, the better off. The more people that are going to trade there, the more liquidity, then that's going to be beneficial. So interesting that it's continued to, Poloniex has kind of fallen off as it hasn't added as many coins. Bittrex really took off and is now number 2 with $1.3 billion of daily volume in the past 24 hours. But Binance is coming up hard, and Binance is adding coins quickly and with regularity as well. What's going on with Power? If If I could spell power. So power in the past, let's see here. Power had a crazy pump after its ICO and has since cooled off quite a bit. And I talked a little bit about this back when it was happening. I know a lot of people were either in on the ICO or whatever, but I think it's a really good illustration of why in a lot of cases it's smart to take profits, or it can be smart to take some profits on coins that go up quite a bit. But what's going on with Power Ledger in general? I don't know if there's any new news or any big news that's come out recently. Still, I mean, I think it's a pretty richly valued cryptocurrency for where it's at, but I know they have some pretty big partnerships, or they have some established partnerships with the government. The energy space is hot, makes a lot of sense. So, Eamon, what is going on? You need to take a look at Wax. The head of Call of Duty is on the team. Love the channel. Thank you very much for the kind words, Eamon. Appreciate it. So I believe, I don't know if the Wax ICO is done or not. I did a little bit of due diligence on Wax. Didn't end up pulling the trigger. It was a little bit late when I was looking at, here we go, Wax token, I believe. So, yep, they sold out. They sold $80 million USD, which is pretty crazy. They had a public pre-sale, private pre-sale, and a main sale. So 3 different layers. I know Mike Novogratz was talking about Wax. I think it was on Bloomberg, and was talking about how he put money in Wax, and that was one of the clear potential big players. Gaming is obviously a really big space in crypto, and Wax makes a ton of sense. We'll see what happens when this hits the market. If it takes a dip after it hits the exchanges, I might look to accumulate some. But yeah, Wax definitely has a good team, but it was pretty richly valued in terms of the amount of money they took in. So that was one thing I didn't love. Who knows though? Hey Jacob, what's going on, man? Head into the economics of crypto and NYC tonight. Any tips? I mean, if you're going to any meetups or anything like that, I would just say put yourself out there. It's always good to meet as many people as possible. There's so many smart people in the space that you can learn from everybody, and that's really what I've tried to do, because the more you learn, I think knowledge in the space really is like, it's game changing in my opinion. There's such an advantage if you have good information. The better information you have, the better off you are, and the better trades, or the more money you can quite frankly make in this space, which is why I've tried to continue to develop here, and why I've tried to continue to develop and learn as much as possible, but then also to that point as well, try to meet as many people, and that's enabled. So today, literally last night, we were talking at the meetup that I was at, talking about one person there was really positive on VeChain, and VeChain had already had a nice bit of run, but this morning I tried to get into VeChain last night, but my GDAX withdrawal took too long. But somebody last night at the meetup was saying, hey, VeChain is going to be legit. It is going to, really compete with Walton. It's better than Walton. It's been around for longer. They're having this rebranding. They have a really good team. They have a really good community. A lot of things that this individual was saying. And then I went out, ended up doing my own research. Liked what I saw. Got in this morning at kind of in this range right here at the point at the 4465 range, 45 range, and it's up quite a bit right now. It's up about 30% since this morning. So I'm enjoying that. That's been pretty fantastic to see. And to that point too, I mean, on the other end of the spectrum, like I said, another person, same group, had talked to me about Cardano back when Cardano was 3 cents. Now it's at 14, 15 cents. So, and I made the moves into both of those, and that's really helpful. So that's, I think, one of the big things about making a move and going out to some of these meetups and just meeting people, talking to people in the space, because it's definitely very helpful. So a couple of different people saying they mentioned pulling the trigger on Bloom. Yeah, I have. I went in on the Bloom ICO. It hasn't sold out as maybe quickly as you'd hope, but in some respects that is just kind of the overall ICO environment right now, and they have a pretty big hard cap. I mean, they have a $50 million hard cap, but I put in some Ethereum to the Bloom ICO, talked to a bunch of people, and liked what we saw. It's a little bit, I'm hoping they can execute on some things quickly and build some momentum, but I'm looking forward to see how Bloom can turn out for sure. Any thoughts on Made Safe Coin? If you invested in Bloom, you deserve to get wrecked. Well, so somebody said Bloom is expensive. I mean, I think that's definitely part of it, but I mean, it's a pretty rich value, but I think the team is really strong, and that's definitely a big thing. And I think it's a big market to potentially jump into. So that was a calculated move on my end, to make that move. And I think that's an area where I talked to a couple people who pretty much evaluate ICOs on a daily basis, and that's literally how they make their full-time living, and a couple of different people that I trust in terms of ICOs. And I was fine taking that move. Not every ICO is going to be everybody's cup of tea, and it still hasn't come out on the open market. So we'll have to see what's going on. Fred, I will definitely get to that in a second, because I was the cause for that jump in Civic. But Made Safe Coin, I mean, as far as Made Safe Coin goes, I need to do a little bit more research on Made Safe Coin. It's something it's been around for a while. It's been around since back in over 3 years now. And some of these older cryptos, I don't do as much research. I kind of, for better or for worse, sometimes I stick to some of the newer, hotter cryptos up there as well. And I haven't done as much research on Made Safe Coin as I should, but it is basically, I mean, from a fiat perspective, it's almost back to its all-time high. Paul, thank you for that super chat. I do appreciate that, man. Do I use Coinigy? Yes, I do. I like Coinigy. It's not for everybody. Not for everybody, but I think it's 15, 20 bucks a month, something like that. So it has a cost associated with it. I like it for the charting features. I also like it, I mean, just for how I use for how I use Coinigy. On these crypto happy hours, it makes it really easy for me to pull up coins quick and find everything I need. I mean, if you want to use Coinigy, here's a link to it. That's my referral link. If you don't want to, it's all actually, the link didn't post, so whatever. But yeah, if you want to check out Coinigy, if you want to utilize that one, I would definitely recommend it. But there's a free trial, so who knows. So there's let me see actually who there was a fairly decent post. Let me see here, not from Vinny, but from, let's see. So this is in regards to IOTA. Here we go, Kyle Samani. So I don't have anything against IOTA at all personally, but let me see here. I can pull it up. I think he posted something on IOTA. Here we go. So a number of limited partnerships, LPs asked Kyle, who runs Multicoin Cap, which Vinny Lingham just joined. I know a lot of you guys are asking me about IOTA. I don't have any IOTA personally, and that's also right now because I didn't buy when it was low, and now it's up 600%. So now it's up 600%, and yeah, I just don't have any IOTA, and I'm not a big fan of buying something when it's on an all-time high and it's just been green candle and green candle, because I don't feel like getting wrecked. But at the same point in time, if you want to take that risk, take that risk. But here's also something that I think is, this is not addressed to me by any chance, but this is Kyle Samani. Take this for what it's worth. If you own IOTA, and again, this is not FUD. This is not me FUDding IOTA. I am not trying to prevent you from anything. If you've owned IOTA, you're up like 600%. Good on you, profit's profit. But this is something that somebody in the industry is saying about IOTA. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's one thing or another, but basically saying IOTA is horrendous. They and this was something that dropped the IOTA price back in June, July, but MIT researchers dug into the code. They found a bug that allowed it, that was a really bad bug. MIT team reached out to IOTA privately. They denied it. The MIT team publicized the bug. IOTA's response was, hey, we did that intentionally. This is an open source project. Anybody can copy the code. But again, to that point too, part of the reason that IOTA is pumping is they put out a press release that said Microsoft is partnering with IOTA. Apparently they said if you read the press release, IOTA just tested some Microsoft stuff and they call it a partnership. So these guys have ripped the IOTA team pretty good. Something to consider if you have IOTA. If you don't have IOTA, just generally speaking, there are a lot of valid criticisms of cryptocurrency. It's always good to, it's always good to understand and see things. And again, I'm not fudding IOTA. I don't own any. If you want it, you do what you want, and all that stuff. Crypto Carl, IOTA fixed that bud. Why are you fudding? I literally just said I wasn't. Just because you bring up a criticism of somebody doesn't mean you're fudding. I literally just, a billion people are asking about IOTA. So I said this was something interesting that came up, or that I saw in the morning, and that's just something there. So again, IOTA is up massively. If you own IOTA, good on you, because you're crushing it. I mean, if you look at these charts here, like we talked about, again, a couple people have said, hey, why didn't you cover it? I did cover it earlier on. I mean, IOTA is up on a Bitcoin trading pairing, US dollar trading pairing in the past month. When you take in all that criticism into account, IOTA is up 930%. Pretty nuts. So if you bought in early, great. If you have held for a while, great. Just something to consider. Let's take a look at some of these questions here. No fudding means no fudding. Somebody mentioned, a bunch of people mentioned, how come I have no Litecoin in my portfolio? Quite frankly, I only have enough money to put in, if we're being frank, I only have enough money to put in a certain amount of cryptos. So, when it comes down to it, I chose to be more heavily weighted in Bitcoin than I am in Litecoin. A lot of that comes down to the institutional money that's in the space or that's about to get into the space. So I would definitely recommend, or I'm not recommending anything right now. I don't know why I said that, but a lot of it just coming down to the institutional money that I think is going to come into Bitcoin. And then the other cryptocurrencies, in a lot of cases, I almost just think Litecoin and Bitcoin in some cases mirror each other. Granted, there is a ratio, and it is Litecoin outperformed Bitcoin over the month of November. So it would have been better for me to own Litecoin than Bitcoin over the month of November. But I'm hanging on to Bitcoin for the time being. We'll see what ends up going on there. And Litecoin. I like Litecoin. I like Charlie Lee. I just think it's kind of redundant in some cases in terms of me holding Litecoin when I'm holding a pretty big portion of Bitcoin, because in some cases I like Ethereum for the platform play. I like Cardano for the platform play. I like Monero and Zcash, though I don't hold Monero, but I like Monero and Zcash for the security privacy play. There's a lot of different, I try to have different theses almost for every crypto that I own. And right now, Litecoin's just not hitting any of those theses for me. And somebody said, Ryan's mentioned, one of the big reasons I think in a lot of respects, that to own Bitcoin or to own Litecoin is that it's almost priced in that it is the test ground for Bitcoin, and that is true to a lot of respects. Do I buy crap coins? I won't say the word because I don't want YouTube's algorithm picking this up and then yelling at me. But do I buy crap coins on EtherDelta? Ever is an excellent strategy. EtherDelta is tough. I'm comfortable. It took me a little bit of time to get comfortable using EtherDelta, but I am comfortable with it. It's it's not a place that I love to trade though, quite frankly. Like if something's on Bittrex, if something's on, something's on Bittrex, if something is on any other service, really, I'd much rather use that than EtherDelta. I get the appeal of decentralized exchanges, but the centralized exchanges right now work better than the decentralized exchanges. So nice trade, Brian, for sure. We need EOS. ETH can't handle cartoon cats. It's definitely something to argue. And then there's a lot of people like to say, oh, Ethereum is going to be the MySpace, and then something else, whether it's EOS, Cardano, Neo, whatever, is going to be the Facebook, or that's going to be the real platform. I think you could argue that one way or another. Time will tell. Obviously, Ethereum is running into scalability issues, but the fact is that there are actually people developing things on Ethereum that are gaining traction. So, until other cryptos out there are running into that same, have that same issue, then it's something to keep into mind. But Ethereum is definitely it's having issues when it comes to scalability, and I'm hoping that we can see some significant solutions in the future on Ethereum, and it can improve those scalability issues. What's the best place to buy Monero? I use Bittrex to. I think Monero is available on Bittrex, I believe, off the top of my head. So taking a look at some of these questions here, and as always, I try to get to as many as possible. But if you have something that you absolutely want answered, throw it in a super chat, and I definitely will get to that. But trying to answer as many of these. Ripple is the next Bitcoin. I would disagree. Ripple is not trying to be the next Bitcoin. Ripple is, in a lot of respects, the opposite of Bitcoin. That doesn't mean it's bad, but Ripple is. I don't think Ripple is Bitcoin. Ripple is a for-profit company that's based in San Francisco that owns the vast majority of Ripple. They control Ripple. Bitcoin is a decentralized cryptocurrency that is not technically owned by anyone. Are there people out there that have a large holding of, Bitcoin? Yes, but there is no central company that owns Ripple. When you look at the circulating supply right now, you have 38 billion Ripple in circulation, but there's a total supply of around 100 billion Ripple. So I don't think that Ripple is the next, I don't think that Ripple is the next Bitcoin. Do I think it, could potentially be something that you might want to hold? Then yeah, I don't hold any Ripple just because I think that, it goes against, in some cases, it's trying to be that settlement layer for banks. It's trying to be that payment layer for banks. It's trying to enable quick transactions for large scale banking institutions. A lot of what crypto is against is most people in crypto do not like banking institutions. They don't like the big banks. But even on top of that, just in speaking, being based out of Manhattan, knowing people that work at large banks, knowing people that work in software engineering and developing an infrastructure at these banks, like the top 5 investment banks that Ripple is trying to go after and even has some partnerships with, they all have their own internal proprietary systems. They all have their own internal proprietary, they all have kind of proprietary systems and setups that are in place already. So whether or not Ripple gets, whether or not Ripple is something that ends up getting utilized, I think is a decent question, especially when it already has a $10 billion valuation at this point in time, not including the total supply. Rumors of Ripple to 1,000. 1,000 what? Because if Ripple goes to 1,000, Ripple is going to be super expensive. Super huge from that. Ripple will be lucky to get to $1, let alone $1,000. Bill, appreciate the super chat there. What are your thoughts on Waves? Easy to create tokens, focusing on ICOs, decentralized exchanges. So Waves is somewhat of an interesting one. They're a little bit of an older, an older crypto when you consider started back in July of 2016. So they've been around for about a year and a half. They've had some interesting partnerships. It's in some cases like an Ethereum competitor. You can very quickly create tokens. I was actually just looking one day. I was bored and I was thinking about just like creating an Ethereum token on the testnet or doing something with Waves, and I was looking to check it out. I think Waves is interesting. I think there's other platforms out there that might have maybe. It's a $734 million cryptocurrency, so 3/4 of the way to $1 billion. That is a scary clown. What is going on there? You will die if you don't try. Multiply your Bitcoin. I don't know about you guys, but I'm petrified of this clown, and I'm petrified of clicking on that link, and I absolutely will not. Yeah, guys, just 155% of your Bitcoin after 15 days. No risk. No risk. You're good. You're going to be all right. Nothing to worry about here, folks. But no, getting into Waves, I think that it's an interesting platform. I haven't done a super deep dive into the tech on the back end, but the client and the product itself and the ability to create tokens is pretty interesting. But I think Ethereum has kind of kicked its butt a little bit in terms of just the overall adoption of like ERC20 tokens and some of the other things. So. And there might be a little bit more favor for other cryptos out there like Neo and some of the other ones. So who knows what'll happen with Waves. I don't have any money in Waves yet right now at all, but I'm not necessarily opposed to it. So taking a look at some of these questions here. QuantStamp, go for it, invest in the clown. I am petrified. Although 155% in 15 days that's tempting. I mean, that seems realistic. Seems very realistic, and I think that would be the ideal return. One moon, guys, one moon. Pennywise coin. QuantStamp is an interesting one. Let's see here. Could use a little bit of work on the website, but they have a pretty solid team in place. I actually had an opportunity to email the CEO. Somebody sent an email a while ago to email the CEO, and I unfortunately didn't get a chance to go forward with that. But in the Y Combinator, they had a chance to participate in the Y Combinator accelerator, Request Network, Science Blockchain. Some pretty interesting partnerships there. I think Richard Ma and the team itself is pretty legit. So. What they accomplish might be pretty cool, but depends on how quickly it takes to accomplish that. So, Mr. Black Sheep, thank you very much for that super chat. If you were investing a few $1,000s in fiat today, would you go all in for Bitcoin ASAP, or would you expect any kind of pullback in the near future? It's really tough to. It's very difficult to predict, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to potentially how the futures markets look at Bitcoin. But I mean, if you look at the overall run of Bitcoin, it's basically been there's been a few different pullbacks here and there, but for the most part, it's been a straight shot to the moon with one big pullback back here, but kind of keeping that line going straight up. I mean, in the past month, Bitcoin has gone from $7,300 to close to $12,000. If you go 3 months, Bitcoin has gone from just below $5,000 up to close to $12,000. So, I mean, we're talking about some pretty heavy movements. Depending upon your risk tolerance, I mean, if you want to hop into Bitcoin and you're eager to get in, go all in. If you are worried about a pullback, let's say you have $2,000 and $2,000 in fiat ready to go, put $1,000 in today. Wait a couple weeks, wait a month, see if anything happens, see if there's a big dip, set an order lower. Put all of your fiat into GDAX or whatever exchange you use, buy some here, and then put an order 15% lower and see if that ever fills. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, then then buy in when you want to buy back in. What is a risk? Appreciate the time, Paul. I've been waiting for a pullback since it broke 10K. I mean, there was a pullback after it broke 10K. It went all the way back down to $8,700, $9,200. So I mean, there was a pullback after it broke 10K. It's just a matter of whether the exchanges were up for you to to get into that or not. But yeah, definitely something to consider there. Dale, there was an article out there about Neo, and when you want to talk about FUD or whatever, but Neo, I think 11 nodes. So there was, let's see. See, this was on, okay, investor warning. This was a while ago. This came out, it was on GitHub. I think I've talked about this previously, but this was basically somebody that came out, and this dropped the price of Neo pretty substantially. I mean, it went all the way up. Hold on. This dropped the price of Neo pretty substantially from, I think it was trading at the time like 45, 42 bucks, and went back down to 35 or so range. But a lot of this was about Neo, was saying it was super centralized. They only had 13 validating nodes. It was all the developers, that blockchains disappeared, blah, blah, blah. If you want to read it, read it. But as always, it's good to be educated on. It's always good to be educated on it. I've made, personally, I've made some really good trades with Neo before. I think Neo is interesting. You always want to take a look at this, but take everything with a grain of salt. This could be somebody that does have a, I don't know too much about this individual and their blog. I mean, this could be something where they had a vested interest in driving the price of Neo down. Maybe maybe they didn't. But Neo, I think all these platforms that are trying to compete with Ethereum, I mean, they have a long way to. You can obviously see Ethereum has a long way to go. Ethereum has a very long way to go. It's getting brought down by kittens. So, I mean, imagine Neo, imagine Cardano, imagine Lisk, imagine a lot of these other cryptocurrencies platforms out there. They have a long way to go as well. I mean, this is very early technology, but it's always good to just see and stay as well educated as humanly possible. And if you are new to the channel by any chance, guys, I do daily videos on the subject of cryptocurrency, and then I also do these YouTube Live Crypto Happy Hours. So hit that subscribe button and the notify bell, so that way, anytime I have a video, or more, accurately, when I go live on YouTube, you get a little notify button or a little notification for when I'm live, so you can join in, ask questions from the beginning, or whatever you prefer. But I would definitely appreciate that. I think we're almost at 50,000 subscribers, which is pretty crazy. Not that really matters all that much, but still pretty nuts that that's how fast the channel has grown. So I really do appreciate all you guys. I mean, we're like 120 or so away, which is, that'll be pretty cool. That'll be fun when it hits 50,000 subscribers. What's your end goal, Bobby? Cash out in fiat or keep holding? I plan on holding for a while, especially Bitcoin and a lot of these other cryptos out there, but especially Bitcoin. I mean, I'm really interested, technically speaking, I'm really interested in the in how this technology can continue to develop. I still think we're very early stages. I love the way in which this is developing, the new projects that are coming out, getting a really good understanding for how things are moving forward in the space. But I also think there is incredible long-term investment potential in this as well. So, I mean, there's been a lot of people that have talked about $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, $100,000 Bitcoin. Depending upon how the institutional investors take into the space, I mean, that could be all it takes. So it's pretty incredible, and I'm excited to see how this ends up, panning out. But I look to continue to dollar cost average and add in my Bitcoin stack, my other cryptocurrency stack, and I'm really excited about that. Would I consider ever shorting Bitcoin? I mean, there have been times where I've sold my Bitcoin and tried to buy back in lower, but actually shorting using margin or on futures, I don't really have the financial, I would say, I don't want to say wherewithal to do that, but I don't have the risk tolerance to do that. I mean, I think you can easily get liquidated pretty fast with the way Bitcoin moves. So I don't have I don't have a ton of interest in shorting Bitcoin on margin. But would I sell Bitcoin if I see the price dropping or if I see something super negative about it and try to buy back in lower at a certain point? Yeah, I definitely would. Where would $100,000 Bitcoin leave Ethereum and Litecoin? I mean, we got to get to $100,000 first for sure. But if that were to ever happen, I think, where would that leave Ethereum and Litecoin? Well, number one, how is Ethereum scaled? Is Ethereum still the number one platform player? Are there other cryptos out there that are perhaps a better fit than Ethereum? Litecoin, would Litecoin go up in some level of would Litecoin go up in some type of specific ratio to Bitcoin? Would it lose when it goes up? I mean, I don't think if Bitcoin goes up to, and granted, this could be very, very far away, but I mean, I don't think if Bitcoin goes up to, I don't think if Bitcoin 10x's or 9x's now, if it goes up 9x, that Litecoin would also 9x. I mean, you'd be talking about $45 billion Litecoin. I don't know if Litecoin is that valuable, but who knows? Which crypto do you think will be on Coinbase next? So this is something. This is something that you definitely want to check out. The GDAX Digital Asset Framework. Another big topic of another big topic of the meetup that we had last night was who's going to be the next cryptocurrency to get added to Coinbase. And as you can see here, this is officially from GDAX. GDAX owns Coinbase owns GDAX. They are factors we evaluate when considering which new assets to support on GDAX, which means GDAX is actively, and Coinbase are actively evaluating. They are actively running analysis on new assets to add to GDAX and to Coinbase. So that is, number one, a big deal, because you can be quite sure that if something gets added to Coinbase, that it's going to absolutely spike, especially if it's a lower market cap crypto. Like, let's say if it's an under $1 billion market cap crypto, it's absolutely going to go nuts. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. Somebody said Bitcash or Bitcoin Cash or Bcash, whatever you want to call it. I think Bcash is definitely Bitcoin Cash, definitely a logical one that will be added to Coinbase, to GDAX, since they are adding support to it, and they are providing everybody that had Bitcoin on their, on Coinbase and GDAX with their Bitcoin Cash. So I think that's just a logical assumption there that that's obviously going to happen. I think that is, will likely be the first one. But outside of that, there are definitely some other ones potentially, and I would think it's going to be based out of companies that are based out of San Francisco most likely, and we'll see what's going on there. But outside of that, guys, I wanted to pop in here fairly briefly. I ordered pizza literally like a minute before I went on YouTube Live because I'm hungry, but ordered some pizza like a minute before YouTube Live. That pizza is now here, so it is it's dinner time. I think I just saw the guy in the driveway, so it's dinner time. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to join me tonight for Crypto Happy Hour. If I didn't have a chance to answer your questions, I really do apologize. So hopefully I'll get a chance to answer them on the next one. You can always send me something on Twitter if you'd like to shoot me a follow on Twitter. If you're not doing that yet, definitely feel free to do so. But I'm gonna go ahead, get some dinner. I hope you guys have a great day, great night. And again, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, the little notify bell. And I would definitely appreciate that and look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much, Jared. And thank you guys, everybody else as well. Have a good night. Peace.